So it's very important for us when giving feedback to understand where teachers are at. And there are different stages in our careers where we feel differently. Now, when I meet new teachers, I always say to them, you've got an option in your teaching career. You're either going to be a thermometer or a thermostat. They often look at me as though I'm a bit mad. But let's have a look. What is the difference between a thermometer and a thermostat? So a thermometer, as we know, measures temperature. You put it into water or liquid or whatever you're putting it into, and it measures. It gives you a measurement. Thermostats do exactly the same thing. They also measure temperature. But they then take that measurement and they adjust the environment to suit that temperature or what it should be. So the difference between a thermometer and a thermostat, the one just constantly measures and the other measures and makes changes. Now, as a teacher, you should be measuring and making changes all the time. And this is the drawback often of a lot of assessments, is that we get caught up in assessing and we don't actually use that assessment to change the way the learners actually understand the work. So let's have a look at your career right now. So I'm going to put 6 statements on the screen. And I want you to, while I'm reading these out to you, choose which one you think best reflects your current feelings about your career. And I'm going to force you to choose one. So even if they're 1 or 2, just choose which one currently reflects your career. So the first is, I am so excited about the daily activities of my job. The second, I'm getting better at trying new ideas and techniques, and I'm beginning to see the results. I know I should change and try new things, but there is a risk that these ideas won't work. Most of the suggested dynamic teaching methods won't work in my classroom. I am battling to keep up with my marking and have very little creative energy. And the last one, I spend a lot of time planning, but my learners love the fun activities that I am trying in class. So I want you to look at those 6 and choose one, and just write that number down in front of you so you don't forget what that number is. And we're going to use that just now to have a look at where you are in your career. Now let's have a look at how things change. Think back to the time when you started teaching, that fantasy stage. That was the stage when you were enthusiastic and you didn't think you were going to make a difference. You knew you were going to make a difference. You were going to go out and change those kids' lives. And as time goes on, you get into what we call the survival mode. And the survival mode is making it through the day. Ever feel like you've got that pile of marking, you think, if I can just finish this pile of marking, I'll be okay. Or if you've got matric learners, if I can just get this lot through matric, then I can rest, I can relax. Or maybe it's a concert that you're organizing at school, or maybe it's the matric dance or athletics day, and you just think, if I can just finish this, I can breathe again. And so this starts happening more and more. But as this happens more and more, we get so good at what we're doing that we get into the mastery stage. In this stage, we're the most effective and most competent. You're good at what you're doing. So you've done, I don't know how many piles of marking. So you become better at it. You've organized 10 matric dances. You're better at it. You just get better at what you're doing. And this stage is when you are the best teacher you could possibly be. However, it is also a very dangerous stage because we get complacent. We start doing the same things over and over again. And complacency leads to boredom, which leads to lack of productivity. And we end up not putting so much effort into our lessons anymore, not giving what we used to. And this is a signal for a time to change. Now, I'm not saying change and leave education, by no means. It might be a time to start applying for other schools. It might be the time to start applying for a promotion post, an HOD post. It might even be just that you need to move grades. That you've been teaching grade 2 for the last 10 years and now you need a break. I say to some schools, maybe it's even a chance that you need to change classrooms because it gives you a new environment. It might be that you need to change your extramural activities. The whole idea here is that you need a shift to take you back into that fantasy stage. Because those of you who've become HODs, or those of you who've changed positions, or those of you who have now suddenly jumped into another class, will know that fantasy stage. Suddenly, as an HOD, you're brand new. You're enthusiastic. Once again, you feel or you know you could make a difference. You're not going to be as bad as the other HOD. You are going to be so much better. And so the cycle carries on. And this cycle is really important to recognize, because you need to recognize where your staff members are at, because that is going to impact how they respond to feedback. So make sure that you view your staff holistically, look at people, and most importantly, make sure that you know where you're at in this process. So let's have a look, going back to those 6 points that we chose. I'd like you to take those numbers, choose whichever, remember which number you chose earlier, and I'd like you to convert your number to a letter. So if, for example, you chose number 2, it would now be C. 3, 4, and 5 would be B, 1 would be A, and 6 would be C. So hopefully you've all got your letter now. If you don't, rewind a little bit and go back and look and see which number you chose. And now let's have a look at where you're at, depending on the number that you chose. And so you can see that in the fantasy stage, those of you who chose A are still in the fantasy stage. B is a survival stage, and C is the mastery stage. Now, once again, there's nothing wrong with the stage you're in. Everyone's going to go through this in a different time. But make sure you're aware of the stage you're at. And make sure that you're able to make those changes so that you can still make a difference in your teaching career.